Good morning. My name is Nadia McConnell, President of the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation. Welcome to today's Ukraine in Washington and Beyond 2022 second part symposium and our awards luncheon. We are honored to have as our co-organizer, co-host, the Embassy of Ukraine. I want to first thank my staff at the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation and some of our interns who've come back to help, who have really done yeoman's work to try to put this together. We're a very small do tank, but we think, so I thank them especially for their extraordinary efforts. I also want to thank our supporters and sponsors, without whom we could never do any of what we get done, not only at events like this, but of course, for our work throughout the years. This is not to be just another conference or symposium. There are many of those taking place every day, right? Ukraine is now the hot topic. And if you're going to be relevant, particularly in this town, you have to have a program on Ukraine. So what would be the point? This is a call to action. Our slogan has been supporting the people of Ukraine yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We've been in Ukraine for over 30 years. And cities like that you hear about, Kyiv, Donetsk, Kherson, Cherkasy, we'll add Lviv, were regional training centers for us from 97 to 2007, local government, where we had over 40,000 local government officials from every town come through our training centers. So these are places that we know, we've worked with, we have people who are have been there working with us, and of course are still and are affected by what is going on. So in some ways it is very personal for us. This call to action is, this afternoon's sessions really will be about tomorrow. First will be about rebuilding and reconstruction. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody sees the large amounts of monies that are going to be expended, hopefully enough what really is needed. We talk about reimagining reconstruction and rebuilding because we believe that needs to be taking place even now within what is available. We cannot wait for the war to end. We don't know when that will be, but people need fresh water, they need shelter, food. So our strategy is to see what can be done even in the current circumstances. The other panel will be from our National Security Friends of Ukraine Network that have been working tirelessly since actually 2014 to talk about what Ukraine needs for the people of Ukraine to defend themselves. Also, we have a session on propaganda and disinformation, because we know Putin's war on Ukraine is comprised of more than just the military aspect. There's the political propaganda aspect, information war. There's the economic destruction of what is taking place, the genocide. So that's for the, if you want to say midterm or long-term needs of what is needed in Ukraine. Let's talk about today. Today, freezing temperatures and snowfalls all across Ukraine. Putin has done with energy and the destruction of infrastructure to just help to his goal to destroy the people of Ukraine, much like what Stalin did during the Holodomor, trying to eradicate the people of Ukraine. So for today, we need to do everything we can to help survive the winter. And so we will be talking about some of the programs we have regarding providing food, water, clean water, our work with people on the ground for shelters and the like, and even protection for animals, not only in shelters, but also a protective gear for animals, dogs that are working to save lives, working through the rubble. So again, this cannot be just another symposium and conference where we talk about things. This is a time for all of us to think about what we can do to help people of Ukraine today. Washington is always a tough time to hold meetings because of Congress being in session and things happen. And of course, today we have, I believe, the first state visit of President Biden's administration. The president of France is here. So we get caught up in all of these other conflicting programs, agendas. We have next a greeting from Undersecretary Victoria Nuland. She is well known to anybody working on Ukraine issues for many years. She's a strong advocate, and in fact, she has appeared in several of our Ukraine and Washington events. And she has really wanted to be with us in person, but she sends this greeting.
Thank you to the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation, to Bob and Nadia for your leadership. It's great to be with you, if virtually. And thanks especially to Ambassador Makarova, Minister Fyodorov, Senators Portman and Klobuchar, and the many other distinguished guests and those joining online who are all united in support of Ukraine's freedom, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the right of all Ukrainians to live in peace and dignity. I'm jealous of all of you today because you are among the first to see Evgeny Afanievsky's new film, Freedom on Fire. I know that it's sure to be just as moving and just as impactful as Winter on Fire was 8 years ago in helping to galvanize the world to support Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. I remember recommending the film to members of Congress, to students, to people all over the world if they wanted to understand what was truly happening in Ukraine. And now, in this existential moment, Yevgeny, you are once again sharing Ukraine's story, exposing the viciousness of Vladimir Putin's war and showcasing the resilience, bravery, and strength of the Ukrainian people. Films like yours and gatherings like these remind us that every day is a struggle for Ukraine. But as President Biden and Secretary Blinken have repeatedly made clear, and I reiterate again here today, the United States stands with the Ukrainian people, stands with Ukraine, and we will rally the world to their side for as long as it takes. That's because the American people understand that Ukrainians are fighting for their freedom, but they're also fighting for all of us. Putin's attempts at violent conquest, his war crimes, his nuclear blackmail, his Hunger Games, and now his effort to freeze Ukrainians this winter have to be defeated. Because if they are not, the world will be a much more dangerous place. Not only will Ukraine's light as a sovereign nation fighting for its own future be extinguished, but every small and medium-sized nation around the globe, which lives next to a bigger nation with a big military, will wonder if they are next. As you know, the United States has led the world in providing unprecedented levels of military, economic, and humanitarian support to Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. And the American-Ukrainian diaspora has led the world in philanthropic contributions. President Biden has just asked Congress for another $37 billion to ensure Ukraine not only survives and thrives as a sovereign, secure, and democratic nation, but that Vladimir Putin suffers a strategic defeat. And on Tuesday in Bucharest, Secretary Blinken met with his G7 counterparts and NATO allies to rally additional support to restore and defend Ukraine's electricity grid. He announced $53 million in critical electric grid equipment from the United States and challenged others around the world to match that. Because Putin must not be allowed to achieve through darkness and cold what he failed to achieve on the battlefield. So thank you again to Yevgeny for continuing to tell Ukraine's story to the world. I can't wait to see the film and to show it to my kids. And I will say to them, if you want to understand true human courage, here it is. Here is Ukraine. Thank you.
For those of you who were able to join us last night, you know that true words could not have been spoken about the impact and value of this film that documents what is going on, that will tell this true story. I now would like to ask Katya Smyly, First Secretary of the Embassy of Ukraine, a dear friend and colleague, to pass some greetings.
Thank you, Nadia. Good morning, everyone. It's a true pleasure to greet everyone at the opening of today's second day and probably the first official day of the symposium, Ukrainian, Washington and Beyond. We truly hope to get a video address from Minister Kuleba, but as you know, he's now traveling, he's in Brussels. So we got a letter from his first deputy, and Annette Japarova, who also asked me to send personal greetings to Ms. McConnell, who has done last year a tremendous job supporting Crimean Tatars on the eve of the Crimea Platform Summit. I know that the US-Ukraine Foundation has organized a number of seminars devoted specifically to the problem of occupied Crimea. So here are the greeting letter from the first deputy minister. Dear Ms. McConnell, it is a true honor to greet on behalf of the Foreign Ministry of Ukraine all the participants of this year's Ukrainian Washington and Beyond series, a flagship Washington, D.C. event on the US-Ukraine strategic partnership. Always held on December 1st, the historic date of Ukraine's referendum vote, which confirmed popular support for independence. Ukraine in Washington and Beyond has united America's best experts in security and defense, disinformation, and the rule of law to address the many challenges that are faced by Ukraine today due to ongoing Russian aggression. Let me thank the US-Ukraine Foundation for devoting this year's event to a particular mission: to address the many winter challenges for humanitarian assistance and to advocate for the increased support of Ukraine at a time when our people are facing the true danger of a very cold and long winter. Congratulations to Senator Bob Portman, Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, and filmmaker Evgeny Afinievsky for being selected for this year's Stars of Ukraine award based on their exceptional efforts in support of Ukraine and its people. Let me wish the US-Ukraine Foundation and all the participants of today's series a very productive and successful work for the benefit of our two nations. Respectfully, Annette Japarova, First Deputy Minister. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you very much. We do have to remember there is a war going on. And so we are very grateful for the time that people take to send their greetings or create these videos. Now we will be talking about the challenges facing the people of Ukraine. I call John Kuhn, Vice President of the US-Ukraine Foundation, Oksana Sukhina, Director of Programs, and Taras, what's your name? CEO of Bringing Them Back Alive, to talk about the current situation in Ukraine and what it is that we need to do.
Thank you, Nadia. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with, both a pleasure and honor to be with you this morning. For everyone who has come from near and far, and appreciate it very, very much. And Yes, yesterday was a fantastic program. It was, there's many tears that when you watch a film like that, but then there were, the hopes and the aspirations of the Ukrainian people, and especially the children, bringing hope, to this situation, to this atrocity that's happening. This section, as Nadia has mentioned, is going to focus on humanitarian assistance. And what we're going to try to do today is provide you with an understanding of what's happening on the ground in Ukraine and what they're facing, what they're experiencing. And then toward the end, I will talk a little bit about what the foundation has faced in putting together a humanitarian program for Ukraine, and sort of where we're going with that as well. So it's my honor this morning on my flanks, two individuals. One is Oksana Sukhina, who's a program director for the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation. And on my left is Chmut, who is the head of the Come Back Alive Foundation. And I'm going to ask Taras to speak first. And Taras, we would like to know what you're facing, what you see on the ground, your experiences from Ukraine. Taras, the floor is yours.
Працює. В першу чергу хочу подякувати за запрошення і за можливість сьогодні бути тут присутнім.
I would like to thank you for the invitation and for giving me the opportunity to be here.
І окремо хочу висловити подяку Сполученим Штатам за їх багаторічну підтримку України в цій війні. На жаль, без наших партнерів ми б не вистояли і продовжуємо триматися саме завдяки західній підтримці.
And I would also additionally would like to thank the United States for their continuous support. Without our partners, we would not have been able to withstand and fight this war.
На жаль, нас чекає найскладніша зима в історії незалежної України.
Unfortunately, the winter that's ahead of us is going to be the most difficult in the history of Ukraine.
Масштаби можливої гуманітарної катастрофи безпрецедентні.
The scale of the potential humanitarian catastrophe unprecedented.
І вони не обмежуються тільки відключенням електроенергії чи проблемами з водою.
And they're not only limited with power outages or water supply interruptions.
Вони і знаходяться і в ядерній площині, оскільки одна з атомних станцій окупована Російською Федерацією.
They also lie in the nuclear sphere because one of the power plants that is currently under the occupation of the Russian forces.
І друга, яка знаходиться в Рівненській області, знаходиться під постійною загрозою захоплення з боку об'єднаних збройних сил Росії та Білорусі.
And the second power plant station that is located in the region Rivne is under constant threat of the occupation from the Russian armed forces.
В цих умовах для України вкрай важлива ефективна і системна підтримка з боку західних партнерів не лише в воєнній сфері, але й так само в гуманітарній, оскільки, як сьогодні вже було сказано, війна може тривати довго, а люди потребують підтримки і допомоги тут і зараз.
So therefore, we need a systematic support from our Western partners, not only in the military sphere, but also in humanitarian aid, because as we have learned, the war will last and probably will last long.
Але при цьому важливо розуміти реальні потреби України сьогодні. Важливо розуміти ефективні шляхи донесення цієї чи доставки цієї допомоги до України, а також ефективний контроль їх використання на місцевому локальному рівні.
So we need to assess the real needs of the Ukrainian people, find the effective ways of delivering this support to Ukraine, and also assessing the support that is needed.
Наша організація існує з 2014 року, і вектором нашої роботи була в першу чергу військова допомога.
So our organizations exist since 2014, and initially the mission of our organization was military aid.
Але сьогодні проблема і загроза настільки велика, що навіть ми збільшуємо частку немілітарних проєктів, оскільки потреби критично високі.
However, today the threats are so high that we even expand our non-military humanitarian aid because the needs are critical.
Але я впевнений, що спільними зусиллями ми переживемо цю зиму, і потім буде весна.
But I'm sure that with common efforts, with common strengths, we will overcome this winter and the spring will come in Ukraine.
І Україна як стояла, так і стоятиме.
And Ukraine will continue living, thriving.
Дякую вам.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tarasa. And now, again, I'd like to introduce Oksana Sukhina. Oksana has been a program director with the foundation now for a few years, several years, I think 3 years, is that correct? And she just spent a month in Ukraine to contact some of our partners that we're working with, looking for new avenues for foundation support and to try to deliver our best impact as possible in Ukraine. Oksana, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay. At this point, I'd like us all to get up and go to the bomb shelter. No, of course, that was just for illustrational purposes only. You can turn the light on. Thank you very much. And it was very mild, right? And we could see each other. But imagine if all of a sudden the light went off and also siren broke out, telling us that we need to get up and go down somewhere to the bomb shelter. This is what actually is happening in Ukraine, and I confirm, like I witnessed it. That is exactly what happened. In fact, we have several panelists that are supposed to connect from Ukraine today, and 2 hours before our meeting, I still have an app on my phone that turns on the siren when there is an air threat. And at about 7:15, 7:20 our time, it went off. So I thought, oh, I'm not even sure if we will get our panelists to this panel. I hope we will still be able to hear from some of them. I see that our distinguished guest, a member of the parliament, Volodymyr Kreydenko, is connecting to us. But my trip to Ukraine was very special to me. It was there is no words to explain it very correctly, but last night, as I watched the movie, I also was, responding to some of the thoughts that were presented there. One is, I believe it was not in the movie, but the moderator shared that for the war journalists that participated in many war zones in the world, as they come to Ukraine, they find it completely different and very exhausting. That you are just exhausted being there, just to see what's going on, because this is incomprehensible. It's like your mind cannot accept this as a reality. This doesn't fit into our picture of the world. It's not kind of the world we want to live in. On the other hand, when I was joining staff calls, and I did continue coming to staff calls virtually, Bob once mentioned, didn't you notice that Oksana became so much happier. Her voice is so calmer and happier. And this is what I felt too. It's like what they've seen around. People try to be very calm, very polite. Uh, and I understand that what's behind it, that they are deeply traumatized, they are scared, they try to show that, okay, I can cope with it, I don't want to share panic with others. So this they support each other. And the other thing is, Ukrainians are very individualistic. You know, like they know what they are doing. They want to do their own thing, but they also get together. Like they see, okay, what needs to be done, what I can do. They join together and just start something. Just like Taras. Taras, how did you start your foundation? Just
Фонд
decided to do it, right?
фонд з'явився в 2014 році, як і багато подібних організацій тоді, коли почалася окупація Криму.
Mhm. So the fund was created in 2014, since the time when the occupation of the Crimean Peninsula has started, and it also was actually founded during the time when many other organizations were founded.
І причина проста: друзі, знайомі, родичі потребували всього: засобів захисту, індивідуальної медицини, шоломів. І багато десятки тисяч українців в той період часу почали це шукати, купувати, возити, і таким чином волонтерський рух, який маємо зараз, тоді почав зароджуватись.
And so it started with a very simple reason. Friends and families and acquaintances were looking for personal protection equipment, some medical supplies, helmets, and they were self-organizing and trying to find this equipment. And they started to self-organize as volunteers, and that was the beginning of the volunteer movement in Ukraine.
Thank you. That was exactly what I was leading to. Is that imagine yourself in this situation that you just, talk to your neighbors, to your friends, whatever. Oh, let's do something, and you get together and you are starting buying. I'm exaggerating tanks or something else. Your funds run out very quickly. You're trying to help others. You try to take care of those you see are weak next to you. You're trying to help, maybe a neighbor with a child, or some people at the hospital, and surprisingly, Ukrainians are doing that. They are giving last pennies. Some give very small donations. Some businesses just reorganize themselves to, for example, like restaurants, to provide free meals for population, for those who do not have access to food anymore because stores are not working. But their resources are very limited. So this is so great to have seen that, and to be able to help, like with any donation, with any contribution, like it really helps someone. This was very encouraging, and I was really amazed with seeing how much they do under the circumstances. So they deal with power outages, with blackouts, loss of internet, ruined infrastructure, lack of gasoline at some point, and still, they plan the window span that they have, the time span, like maybe 2 hours. I can work for 2 hours. I can work for 3 hours today, or somewhere sometime later, and just meeting with these people. Like the one shelter, one example, they evacuated from Bucha in March, early in March. She was like, I was asking, okay, how did you start this shelter? We hopped on train, we came here to Lviv, we come out, and like, what's next? What do we do? Where do we go? We're walking in the center. We see a large utility company office We walk in, we talk to the direction, no one is there, like, but huge compound. Boom, it is turned out into a shelter. Uh, Other partners, Rotary Club Kyiv International, taking different calls, talking to the government. Like government is also asking everybody who is able to help is coming and say, we need beds, we need linen, we need this, we need food. Like, and then little by little, it's a huge self-organization, probably because of the entrepreneurial spirit of Ukrainians and also good education. Uh, Everybody on their um, area of expertise, in their area of expertise, does something, uh, and we are very happy to support that, to support art therapy for children, to support organizations like Dobrobat, which is similar to Habitat of Humanities, similar concept. Volunteers get together to help clean debris, ruined houses, and fix people's houses. But they need money to buy windows, roofs, construction materials. Food is, every town has somebody that is packaging food, is preparing hot meals, and what else? A big area of need is animals, dog shelters, service animals for the national police, for the state emergency services. We have developed support for state emergency services on several lines. One is providing water purification systems to help them. It's emergency systems that you run in the disasters that do not need electricity. They have own solar panels, generators, so they can grab it and bring to areas where it's needed. Now heating is a big issue. They are asking to help buy tents, like pneumatic tents that they blow to establish heating devices and attached to generators so that people can walk in and get warm. Um, other items. Other organizations are handling emergency evacuations. I can go on and on and on. We'll have some videos and we'll have them throughout the day. Uh, I would like to give the floor to Member of the Parliament Volodymyr Kreydenko, if he would like to add anything.
Thank you very much. Thank you, the US Ukraine Foundation, for inviting me to this event. It's my pleasure to be among the speakers. President Zelensky has said that 2022 will be a hard winter for Ukraine, and he is right. Ukraine faces numerous challenges to survive the cold months ahead, significant military, economic, and energy issues threaten Ukraine's near-term security. Ukraine needs upwards of 6 billion each month to pay state salaries, pensions, and otherwise maintain key state services. Hyperinflation remains a concern. Access to capital remains challenging. And the winter will be a cold one if sufficient gas or coal reserves are not secured. Ukraine also needs additional housing and jobs to attract workers back to liberated cities and towns. Ukraine saw the first snow of the season falling in mid-November, just a couple of days after a new wave of missile attack targeting energy infrastructure had left approximately 10 million consumers, including families, businesses, hospitals, and schools, without electricity, and millions cut off from water and heating supplies. The one set of winter conditions in Ukraine where temperature can drop below minus 20 degrees Celsius brings new damages to the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, in the country, and could be a matter of survival for millions of people if they cannot stay in protected and warm place. Among other challenges, the freezing temperatures arrived at the moment when the country is facing a serious energy crisis following almost weekly waves of attacks on Ukrainian energy's infrastructure. Despite ongoing repairs on 28 November, the Ukrainian energy system was able to cover only 70% of the peak demand to generation power. As a consequence, people in all regions of the country have constant power outage, also affecting civilians' access to water and heating, as the pumping system needs electricity to operate. The situation is more critical in the west of the country and the capital, Kyiv, the worst affected by the latest attack on energy infrastructure. According to the authorities, restoring the heating supply in parts of Kharkivska Oblast in the east and Khersonska Oblast in the south have not been possible yet due to the exceptionally severe damage inflicted. In the south, an attack on 28 November reportedly hit in a station in Khersonska Oblast pumping water to Mykolaiv just a week after it had been repaired. The station was first hit in April, and since then, all 250,000 people who remain in the city have not had piped water. The level of damages and destruction to the other civilian infrastructure since the war started, including homes, hospitals, or schools, also opened new damages and concerns during the winter months. Some of the most vulnerable among the millions of Ukrainians who were forced to flee their homes because of the war are those who will have to endure the winter in collective centers for displaced people. Humanitarian organizations have confirmed that many of these centers are not adequately equipped for the winter and urgently need heating and fuel in addition to other critical repairs. Similarly, many people who return to their villages and towns live in damaged houses or have no access to essential supplies, including water, heating, and electricity. At the same time that needs are increasing because of the cold season, insecurity and obstacles imposed by the Russian Federation continue to hamper humanitarian capacity to support people in areas close to the front line or not under the control of Ukraine. People close to the front line face immense needs caused not only by the most recent massive destruction of infrastructure, but also by the damage accumulated in the previous 8 years of conflict in the East. Meanwhile, hospitalities in the East and South continue to take a heavy toll on civilians, killing or dozen every day impacted their capacity to flee if they choose to, and their access to essential survives. Across Ukraine, the authority report that over 32,000 civilian objectives have been damaged since the start of the war, including at least 700 critical infrastructure facilities such as airport, bridges, oil storage facilities, and electricity substation. So the Ukrainians face huge challenges the winter, and we are trying to help each other. As a Dobrobat ambassador, I am trying to promote this voluntary movement to engage more help. Dobrobat is a volunteer construction battalion. Since the beginning of April, more than 40,000 people have signed up for the volunteer movement. Men and women from all regions of Ukraine and from abroad help to remove debris and urgently restore houses and social infrastructure objects destroyed by Russian army. Currently, our battalion are formed in 7 regions: Kyiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. The Dobrobat volunteers have already helped more than 1,350 families. Roofs were urgently restored in more than 140 houses, and windows in more than 80 buildings. Among
Volodymyr,
them,
thank you very much. We'll have the video. We have the video that you sent us. Thank you very much for Dobrobat. We'll see that information.
yeah. Ukrainian, as if I will continue, you will see on video all what we do and what we plan to do. As like end of my speech, I want to say that Ukrainian crucially needs international friends and partners these days. Only together we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Volodymyr, so much. One thing I wanted to add also is that, I met with first responders from the state emergency services, from police officers. And what struck me is these people come to work every day, sometimes not knowing how they will get to work. They also need to protect their families, to take care of their safety and their basic needs. And nevertheless, the country continues running. This is this resilience is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kreydenko. Thank you, Oksana. Could we now show our video, Food is Life?
From our partners first.
What's that?
From our partners. Videos from our
Oh,
partners.
videos from our partners.
Thank you very much for the invitation to the Ukraine in Washington symposium. We are very pleased to know that support for Ukraine is not disappeared from the agenda of the world capitals. On behalf of the main department of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine in Kyiv region, let me express the sincere gratitude from all regional rescuers for your help, for your assistance, which is crucial need now. Since the 24th of February, there have been raging here the fierce active hostilities, which is not only destroyed the Ukrainian infrastructure, but also ruins the fates of local residents, among whom were also rescues. Russia wants to completely destroy everything that makes our nation, our people, our culture, our identity, and of course to suppress our resilience and our invincibility. In the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the Kyiv regional main department of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine units neutralized 1,442 explosive objects and its parts, as well as our brave rescuers carrying out the civilian population evacuation measures from the areas of hostilities, provide transferring of food products, drinking water to the civilian population, carrying out the structures of the residential buildings, dismantling in localities, and of course involved two other tasks directed to the safety of civilians. We are very grateful to all our partners, to all donors, to all kind-hearted volunteers. Thank you very much for your help, for your assistance, for all you do for Ukraine, and of course for your consideration. Kind greetings from Ukraine. Glory to our heroes. Glory to Ukraine.
Добробат – добровольчий будівельний батальйон. Від початку квітня до лав волонтерського руху записались понад 40 тисяч волонтерів. Добровольці, чоловіки та жінки з усіх регіонів України та з-за кордону допомагають розбирати завали та нагально відновлювати зруйновані армією РФ будинки та об'єкти соціальної інфраструктури. Нині сформовані батальйони у 7 областях: Київський, Чернігівський, Сумський, Харківський, Миколаївський, Запорізький та Херсонський. Волонтери цих осередків мало не щодня виїздять на локації. Антон Сильченко, волонтер Добробату.
Я вважаю, що якщо немає змоги, наприклад, якось допомагати фінансово чи ще якось, кожен з нас може прийняти участь в тому, щоб відновити щось, допомогти, полагодити, наприклад, покрівлі, як тут, або десь замінити вікна.
Завдяки мотивованим добровольцям Добробату ми допомогли вже більш ніж 1350 сім'ям. Нагально відновили покрівлі у більш ніж 140 будівлях, а вікна у понад 80. З-поміж перерахованих будівель, в яких ми допомогли з покрівлею та вікнами, більше 55 багатоквартирних будинків. Інна Дмитрієва – мешканка багатоквартирного будинку в Гостомелі, який постраждав внаслідок російської окупації.
Я вважаю, що люди, які це роблять, це просто якісь там чергові наші герої. Вони молодці.
Добровольчі будівельні батальйони також долучилися до відновлення понад 30 об'єктів соціальної інфраструктури, в тому числі шкіл, садочків, медичних закладів. Ростислав Смірнов – співзасновник Добробату.
Місія Добробат – це про допомогу і про єдність. Коли ми дійсно об'єднуємось і допомагаємо одне одному, ми можемо будь-що, і ми обов'язково переможемо і все відбудуємо.
Відновлення України силами Добробату відбувається за підтримки наших партнерів. Ми вдячні кожному за це. Зокрема, фундації «Україна-США». Розуміємо, що це можливо завдяки великій кількості людей. Тож надзвичайно вдячні громадянам США, які надають цю допомогу. Кожен ваш внесок – це глина у відбудові України. Завдяки вам напередодні різдвяних та новорічних свят наші волонтери день за днем відбудовують та прямують до нашої спільної перемоги. Дарують українцям не лише надію на тепло в рідних домівках, а й реальне відновлення. Дякуємо. Разом можемо більше.
Do we have, quickly, because we're even beyond our limited time, if you have a question of our two speakers, if you could stand and ask the question, and please make it brief. And please identify yourself as well. And yes, use a microphone from Olena. Anyone? Okay. Yes.
I'm Helena Traversa. Oksana, it's to you. So you just spent a month in Ukraine, and maybe you said it already, and I didn't hear it. Which parts of Ukraine did you travel to in this month that you were there?
I was in Kyiv. I was in areas that were really near Kyiv, like Bucha, Irpin, Borodyanka. I was in Western Ukraine. I was going to go to Kharkiv and Zaporizhia, but unfortunately the car broke. That happens. We partnered with the veterans organization, the organizations of like Association of Veterans and their families. They're very active, going out, helping people. Every next deoccupied area is the sort of the targeted effort of everybody. They go and help. And I met many people from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And one more question. How did you find Dobrobat, or did they find us?
Just someone from old life, let's put it this way, like same way with the veterans organization, like contacts in other like company work, other organizations just knew of us, came to us, hey, I'm no longer with them, I lost my job, but this is what I'm doing now. That's how.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have run out of time. There's more to talk about. I hope we can, please, in small groups and discussions during lunch and following at the end of the day, please talk. I know there are representatives from other aid organizations here today. And you see all the things that are being mentioned, especially Oksana mentioned, the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation is involved in. And if you take a look at the back of your program, these are the programs that we are running. We call for your support, a call to action. Make your impact. We need your support. The funds that the foundation has sent already, we have delivered over between $11 and $12 million of medical supplies, life-saving equipment, and direct grants within 9 months, we have pledges to make good on of over $100,000. But for us to continue, especially in working in areas that we want to work with other partners. We have down the road in 2023 a major university in the US that we're working on rebuilding efforts in Ukraine and helping in transitional scholarly areas, having scholars move away, obviously, as displaced individuals toward safer areas, and to provide them with educational opportunities to continue their research, et cetera. And of course, yes, in teaching as well. So I direct your attention here. Please continue your fantastic support for the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation. And I thank our panelists today. And I think we'll conclude right there. Thank you very much.